Hey guys, Ramblin Bob here again. So I wanted to do another test on the Pecron E600LFP. Now that's the newest one that Pecron sent us for testing. And while I was doing our testing, I found out some pretty cool information about this little guy. This is regarding to the DC outputs. And if you guys remember with the E2000LFP that I have down there, the 100 watt USB on the E2000 LFP would only put out about 65 watts on the first version. So I think that was a protocol mistake that Pecron made. That also happened on the E3000, which is the lithium ion version of this kind of a power station with the 3000 watt hours in it. But now this is the newer one, of course, and this is something that I found out as I thought was really cool. So obviously they fixed the USB-C output, and it's actually 100 watts now. So when you plug that in with this is a special cord, guys. This is a 100 watt cord. You have to have a special cord in order to bring out 100 watts through USB-C. It has either a little chip in there or a special circuitry that allows 100 watts to flow through this little tiny cable, because that's a lot of power for a little tiny cable like that. So as you're watching this ramp up now, this is the output of the E600, and then this is the input, which is a power delivery input port. It's a delivery and input port of this power station. It's just an old one. And while I was kind of goofing around with this system, I kind of noticed that that's my way of testing how many watts. As you can see, it says 99 watts out of this port, and then it's actually bringing in, it's very hard to see, this is a very old power station, it says 90 watts. So you obviously lose on the conversion. So that's okay, because it takes money to make money, and it takes power to make power. So we all understand that. So we're losing approximately, I want to say about 9-ish% or so from the power from this box to that box. So since we all understand that now, it is a true 100 watt output. So they have been doing very good. And then if I turn on the AC, okay, so let's turn on the AC. Now DC on and AC's on. So if you click these little buttons here, it'll show that the voltage will ramp up to 120, usually 121. It's actually 122 now, which I'm surprised. Normally it sits at 121, which means that this little box actually puts out 120 plus volts of voltage. So that's actually very positive. See, 121. It usually settles at 121. I've noticed that now. I've had this for a few weeks, and I've done some extensive testing on it, and that way I can see with my tests if this power station helps you, or that one or whichever. I'm only here to do the reviews and the testing. That's my idea in this whole scheme of things, I guess. The YouTube channel thingy. I just like to test the technology. I don't use a lot of the smaller ones anymore. I'm kind of in the 2,000 watt range and much more. But I always go back and I test them, because other people, maybe their money is not as high as they want to be, and they want to get into the energy solar game. So this system, I think this system was like $300. That's 50 cents a watt hour, guys. And that's very cheap to get in this industry. When I first got into this, I believe it was like $2 a watt hour, or even possibly $3. I mean, it's very expensive, and the power stations are extremely small. If not, it might have been, with the little power brick kind of things. If you remember the original ones that were like these things, like these things. When these kind of power bricks, if you will, first came out, they were very expensive, and now they're down to, like I said, you get it for 50 cents a watt hour. That's a very low. So now's the time to get into it. Compared to before, for sure, because I spent a lot of money on this stuff, but I really enjoy this technology. This has changed my life. But I wanted to show you one cool thing with this power station, with the whole Pecron E600, that they actually upgraded something, and they didn't tell you. This is a really good positive part about this power station. I've had zero problems with it. I get I think about 396 to 397 watts input on AC and DC. I use the bigger charger from the E2000LFP to charge this if I ever need to, and I get 396 to 397, so it's very close to 400. It's not exactly 400 actual inputs, but it's very close enough to me to consider that a 400 watt input charger. It's like maybe 3.5 watts off. I think it's acceptable. I know it should be 400 watts. You know, I always said if you get $5, you get $5 a product. I think that's very close. I think that was just maybe something internal or something that it's not allowing the full 400 to go in, but you are getting 396 and 397. So I think that's acceptable. It's not perfect, but I think that's very acceptable. But now I'm going to use the same cord, okay? And they have the 100 watt USB output, and underneath it they have an 18 watt, which is kind of like a speed charging version of the USB-C as a secondary port. It's not a full power delivery 100 watt port, which is good for like dumping extra power into something, you know, like this when you need it charged quick. Or if you just, you know, want to maybe fill another power, so, you know, basically whatever you want to do with it. But now I'm going to plug this into the 18 watt USB-C on the bottom. And then I'm going to take that same cord and I'm going to put it in the power delivery port, which is 100 watt, the same as before. And then you'll see what'll happen. This kind of amazed me because with all the little hiccups and things that the E2000 had, I didn't see any of them on this model, guys. Absolutely any. I wish that this model had more power or expandable batteries. I think this would be much, I don't know, better bang for the buck or whatever. Like if I could put my EB3000s to this thing, holy cow. The only difference obviously is your inverter's not as big and you don't get as many AC receptacles and things like that. But this little power station, it's a hell of a, it's like a tank. It really is. I pushed 1,300 watts for probably about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, with no hiccups, guys. This is a 1,200 watt max AC inverter out. So you would never expect with Pecron's history of the power stations that it would go over what they actually spec'd it for. So I think they're moving in the right direction. I really do. Now notice this is 18 watts output, okay? And then it's actually pulling out 21. Let me turn off the AC here just so we can focus on the DC only. See, we're pulling out 20, now we're pulling out 24, 26. So notice that, guys, we're actually pulling out 26 watts. It says negative 26 DC out, and that's all that's on, okay? And then in this one, I hope you can see it. I'll try to get close enough. But notice that that says 23 watts, which means that for the first time of any power station that I've seen from Pecron, they actually give you more output than what it's rated at. Guys, this is a very good positive direction for this company to go. That's two things now. That's two, well actually, my gosh, that's three things. Three things higher than what it's actually spec'd for that is on this unit alone. So if I unplug this and row recap of what I found, the 18 watt USB-C output is actually up to what I've seen, 26 watts out. That's to me, that's a lot. That's 8 watts higher than what this says it is. I think that's very positive. The AC inverter out, I ran personally 1,300 watts for 15 to 20 minutes. That's higher than what this was spec'd at on the box, okay? And then if you turn, let's just turn the DC off and turn the AC back on, and then I'll hit that button again. Let me make it so you can see it. Okay, and then you hit this button here to put the voltage, and as soon as the system kind of ramps up and gets ready to go, this is the third thing now, 121 volts. That's higher than the 120 volts that they put on the specs. That is three things that this company, Pecron, has excelled in with this product. Like I said, this is a very, very capable small toy box. I call it a toy box because it's literally too small for anything that I would really need in the house. But in the field, if you took this in your car, if you took this to work, you know, you can run a microwave on this little box. And I thought that was absolutely incredible. It's because I have this one here. My wife will not let me get rid of this one. This is one of the first ones we bought. and it's only a 600 watt inverter. And on this one, I can actually go up to about, I think it was 650 watts. The power delivery port was perfect, but this company seemed to either stop making power stations or went out of business, or who knows. I think they just maybe just cut back on making these. I think the market was so saturated that I don't think they could compete. This is also lithium ion, and this is lithium iron phosphate, which is a much safer, better battery chemistry than this one was. But guys, that's 3 things now that I found within here. I can let me hot swap some stuff here. Let's see. I'm just gonna pull a string. I know I shouldn't be hot swapping, guys, and I don't recommend it. You always want to be safe with any kind of power. I'm gonna throw a line in there. I don't know which one this is. I'll know as soon as it hops on. But I'll show you the charging in real time too. Remember, it always has a slow start, guys. And there it goes. Now, what it does is when you first plug it in, it has that communication thing where the BMS and the MPPT controller and the solar panel, whether it's a single or an array or whatever you have hooked to it, they talk and kind of have a conversation to find out what's the best balance of charging power to put into the batteries so it protects the batteries. That's the whole concept of a BMS. It's called battery management system, and it protects the charging cycles and the power input to make sure that it's not oversaturating the batteries with too much power or too much current. So here we're at 394. So that seems to be, if I think that's correct, I believe that's my excuse me, my 4 Acopower 200 watt solar panels that I have on a mobile device. So notice it's not 400, but I don't know exactly how much it's supposed to be coming in right now. It's early in the morning. But notice it shot right up to that almost 400 where it's supposed to be. This little meter here, guys, I don't pay any attention to it at all. I think that's there just kind of for looks. When you start pulling out energy, it'll kind of pop up. I was never a fan of meters that are like increments, you know what I mean, like 25, 50, 75, and 100. I was never a fan of that because you never know accurately where it is. This has a percentage meter on it, and it also has a voltmeter. Now, a voltmeter is way more accurate than any other thing because this is literally telling you this is how much actual power, not a percentage, this is the actual percentage, not percentage, level of voltage that's in this battery pack right now, and that supersedes this percentage, 100 watts or 90 or whatever it says. So I always leave it on this, and notice it's going very quick, and when it hits about 28 point, I want to say 28.6 or 28.7, this will stop. It's basically topping off the batteries. That's why it's at 100%. And then see here, now notice this is starting to drop, because this voltage is right near here, 28.4, and this is dropping down because, see, now it just dropped down another chunk, and you'll watch it in real time. This is basically what's known as topping off a battery. So if you're pouring that soda in that glass, you have to slow down. You have to, whether a beer on tap or a soda in a glass, you have to slow down that input flow, otherwise that the foam of the beer will go over the glass, which looks great on a commercial, but it's not very good for when you waste product. Same with electricity and batteries, is when you pour that soda into that glass, the carbonation bubbles and you have to slow down, otherwise it overflows the glass. So now notice it's still ramping down. Okay, so 28.4, maybe it's probably 28.5 on this model. Every model with the firmware settings has its own cutoff, which is the float and the top amount of energy that it's allowed to go in according to the system settings. This one's a little bit different on the E2000. That one cuts off at, I believe, at 27.6, and this one, cuts off at 28.4. But like I said, I could literally change that by changing the firmware, which I highly do not recommend you don't do. I know it sounds like a double negative, but don't mess with the firmware settings, guys. Unless you really know what you're doing, don't mess with it. But now, see, this is dropping in real time, 122 watts, 118. I'll try to keep this on. And we'll just kind of let it go the last little cycle here. This is basically topping off the batteries. And see 106, and you'll see it continually drop at a steady rate, because all it's doing is it's just putting those last little bits of pieces in there, that could have been possibly another reason why I didn't hit exactly 396 or 397 this time, is because it's already at 100% for the most part, other than it's just filling. And that's a prime example of 100% is not always 100%, guys. But if you had those increments of 25, 50, 75, 100, you'd really never know actually where it is. But when you use a voltmeter, that lets you know exactly where your power is. Voltmeters, they can be a little bit off, but for the most part they don't lie. They tell you exactly how much power is in there and how much is going in there and whatnot. Like the E2000, when I put the external voltmeter, I had a Bluetti one, and I put that in there, and I had a Harbor Freight one, and they were actually able to test the live voltage. And live voltage means beyond any meter that's in the box or any part of the box, it goes directly to the batteries, because for some reason Pecron left those connections for the expandable battery ports. Those are live, so it's very dangerous to have live. So don't mess with those, guys, unless you know what you're doing. That can put out like 80 amps. that's a lot of power. If you get hit by that, I guarantee you remember that for the rest of your life. It sucks. So we'll let that ramp down. It's almost there. And then notice that we got 1,000 hours, which is obviously not accurate because we're not using anything, well, I suppose it's accurate if you don't use anything and you still have this much power coming in from the sun. We'll let it go all the way down here. It's at 32, so it's got to be almost done here pretty quick. And then notice the voltage and the percentage. But, it still says 100%, guys, and it's not 100%, obviously, because there's more energy getting in there. Basically, energy sits kind of like a baseball field or a football field, where in the stands, if you got there first, you get your pick of the seats for the most part. Back in the days, like in the bleachers, now they have assigned seating, of course, so it's different. But a stadium full of people that it's a free event, people sit anywhere the energy goes. You're the energy, you go and you sit wherever you want. But finding those last bits of seats is what's designed in the BMS. That figures out, okay, you have to go over to row blah blah blah, which is battery cell 4, and that's kind of how and why it slows down like that, and it trickle charges at the end. But it's almost there, and then obviously at the end it'll cut this off 100%, and then we can see what the voltage is if it goes to 28.5 or it stays at 28.4. I don't know how long that's going to take, but hopefully it won't take too long. I don't want to make the video too long. My videos are usually long enough as it is because I ramble, but I try to get as much information out to everybody as I can, because possibly like you, I was extremely new with this stuff, and I didn't know what to look for, but I know the concept of electricity. I've been in the field of audio for a long time, so I kind of know the basics of what to look for, which helped me greatly in this field to learn about these little boxes here. And for sure these boxes have changed my life and my wife's life too. Like, we can take this E2000LFP, the model that's below it, and we could put that in our van or in our RV, and we have 8,000 watts of power in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we can literally go camping next to a stream or a lake, and to have as much power almost as what you have in your house in the middle of nowhere, and then you have your solar panels on top of your vehicle where you can put that back in there. That's, guys, it's a game changer. There's no gas to lug around. There's no fire to worry about as far as the the gas exploding or storage of the gas, or God forbid you smell those odors, and you can basically take that never-ending sleep, if you know what I mean. If the carbon monoxide were to work its way back into the cabin or your van or your RV or whatever, they're completely, as you can see, I'll be quiet for 2 seconds. They're completely silent. The only fan you hear is my laptop, which is off to the right of me about, I don't know, 2 feet. But when you use these and you don't max them out to like 600 or 1,000, well, usually I think the fan kicked down to like 1,000 watts or 1,100. But other than that, if you want to run something and be absolutely completely quiet. I guarantee you that a laptop will make more noise than this thing if you use it, 50, 100, 200, 300 watts. This literally makes no noise. So to be able to use that next to somebody, if they were sleeping in the same room, or if you had it hooked to whatever, whatever you use a power station for. Everyone has different needs of what a power station does for them. But to be able to take that kind of power and basically pick it up, like this, and just, walk around with it. That's it. The times are amazing that we live in, and they're just getting more and more amazingly creepy, I guess, at an alarming rate. But okay, so we're down to 11 watts, so it's almost done. I'll let it finish. I'll keep the video going just so it finishes and tops out. But guys, I really think that this model is an absolute home run for a starter one. This isn't going to power your house. This isn't going to power your RV. But man, if you needed something small, this is a go-to thing. I saw them as low as $300. That's 50 cents a watt hour. It's nothing to get into this. If you buy a 12 volt battery, that's maybe 100 amp hours or something like that, you're going to spend, lithium iron phosphate, you're going to spend probably $3 to $4 to $5 to $6 to $700 for that, depending on the options it comes with. And this has everything in one little box with a handle on it, and you're done. It also has that wireless charging on top. I never use it, guys. I don't have a phone that way. My phone just doesn't have this fancy technology on it. But man, if you needed any of these ports in the middle of nowhere, I mean, this is a home run box. And the only thing I think that they make this better is if Pecron were to come out with a 300 watt hour version. Like if you guys remember that Bluetti has that EV3A, that little tiny box can do so much. I guess it would be maybe this big, I'm assuming, I don't know. But if they could cut the power in half of this one and make a E600LFP, boy, would that be portable. I'll tell you what, with the 600 watt inverter, you could do a lot of things with that and take that in a lot of places. That's so small that you could literally, you could store this in a cupboard. So imagine if a smaller unit with the similar capabilities of this one, other than probably the power, because you don't want to put 1200 watts out of a smaller battery like that. But boy, the times have changing. It's so exciting to play and goof around with this technology. Well, I don't really know what more to say. It's just crazy. So these things too, I wanted to talk about these things since I have you here. On the old ones, if you remember, these ones, you basically pull them forward like this. You see this? You kind of do a bear grip and you kind of pull them and see they pop out. And as long as you don't mush them back, you can use the same ones over and over. When you first get them, they're like glued on there. And then you just line them up like this and you just mush them back on. Basically, you just squish them and then do kind of a bear claw grip, But these are different. So if you try to pull these off, they don't come off until you pull upwards. So these actually have a slot in them that are different, that actually goes down in there, and then it kind of seats in these two, and you see the little locking pins. They didn't put the glue on these, which I'm happy about. Instead, they went to kind of a locking thing. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little pins in there, almost like a pressure pin, and then it has that little hook right there, like a barb of a fishing hook, and you basically just poke that down in there like that, and they click, and you're done. That's nice because if you need to get in a system for any reason, fixing, maintenance, who knows what you'd ever have to open this for. Hopefully you never have to. But if you do, guys, there's no glue residue anymore. You don't have to fight, trying to get those off or ripping them, because of that glue substance that's in there. So you hear that click? I'll do another one. Let's put this in here. Okay, and then right there, and then I'll click it. Did you hear the click? I'll try it one more time just so you can hear it, okay? I'll try to get the camera real close just so you can kind of understand what I'm saying. Okay, did you hear the click there? So that click basically confirms that that's in there good. And I like that, guys. I really like that. Better than these ones that you pull off just because of that. See, they're hard to get off just because of that residue that used to be there. These are brand new ones. But as you can see on here, that's a lot of glue residue. And you can basically just take it off like this, right? You just rub that and it pops right off. But it's a messy thing to where when I had to open this, you know, that glue was all over the place. It's dried, but it's all over the place. You see it's kind of shedding. But I like this idea better, guys. I really do, because it's easier to put them in. It has that locking kind of click motion with it, to where you could just pop them right up, and then it's got that lock in there. So it's got like that big channel in the lock. So I think I like that better. I think everything about this system, as far as the AC inverter, this is a true 100 watts. This is actually coming out at 26 watts. The voltage is actually higher than what it says on the box, and every one that you go up higher means that the voltage sag, when you actually run stuff, is closer to stay at that 120. So this box is a home run. I wish I would have bought this one. No, I didn't buy this one. Pecron sent this to me. But if this was years ago, I would have bought this one over that Mylon any day. I mean, absolutely any day. Other than maybe the weight of this one is obviously less because it's lithium ion batteries, and this is lithium iron phosphate batteries. Here we're down to 6, so we're almost there, guys. But you know, this served its purpose. It's time to move forward, of course. But this little guy's a monster, absolute monster. We don't have to dump. You know, I think I paid $4,500 for the E2000, and if you don't need that kind of power, as far as output power or that amount of ports or whatever, something like this is just perfect for starting. I mean, it's perfect. I do like the EB3A too by Bluetti, but this has a little bit, I think 3 times the battery power as far as the storage. This is 600, and I think the EB3A is, I think 200 and something like that, 226 or 201. It's got a weird number, but it's like, you know, almost a third of what this is. I think this is 614. So yeah, I think it's about a third of that. The only thing that system has over this one that I've noticed is it has an app, and that where you can, you know, turn this on and off and everything from the app of your phone. And that was one of the reasons I do love, absolutely love, and my wife loves these too, this company's stuff, is because they don't have the apps and they don't have all the fancy features. They want to keep it extremely simple for a grab and go scenario. If you think of that other company, Jackery, it's a very, very simplistic box. It's a battery in a box that powers what you need. And if they would go to lithium iron phosphate, I think that would help them a lot. At least make one power station, Jackery, that has lithium iron phosphate batteries in it, and that way I think your market would expand even more, because you're giving people the options. And when you have an option as a consumer, that obviously helps out everybody, because what I need is maybe not what you need, and what you need is obviously maybe not what I need. So if you have an option between different battery chemistries or different power outputs or different ports, or, you know, whatever, you know, I mean, like this input is a barrel input on this one, and I'm not a fan of barrel inputs at all. I was back in 1980s at Radio Shack, but you know, times have changed, and this is not efficient or good for power input with you know, higher solar panels and whatnot. So they went to their aviation port, and then you know, they give you the plugs that go to MC4. So I mean, you're pretty much done. You know, I think most of the panels sold now all have MC4s. That's industry standard. A lot of them used to have that Anderson power pole, which is those 2 little squares side by side. I don't have any more power stations that are newer. I think we have 8. I think, yeah, we have 8 power stations right now, and this was the last one that I remember that I had with Anderson power pole, and this is from that Oukitel one. But that's what Anderson power pole looks like, and basically you can pull these down and you can pull those apart. I think these are glued. Okay, see how it moved a little bit? So these are glued. I don't want to pull. Well, here you go. Here. Oh, they weren't glued. Okay, I was pulling the wrong way. So notice how you can take them apart, so you can have any configuration you need. That was nice back in the days, but the trouble with those is it's not waterproof, guys. And when you go to MC4, it's 100% waterproof, and which is huge when you want to put something like that outside, because you never know what the heck's going to happen, you know. And you know, these, when you actually click them, like these bad boys they're done. As long as it's clicked and connected well. All the seams are tightly snug. This is waterproof, and you won't have the same problems with this bad boy as you do this one. These are much easier to take apart, of course, but if you can get them apart with your fingers like I do, like that, these hands down are 100% better. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do a test this year, and I'm gonna convert my stereo into MC4 ports so I can hook up speakers in my car just like that, as quick as that. Then I can, pop them out and put another either kicker box or set of speakers in there whenever I want, and that way you can have like an external speaker box or a kicker box running from the car out to the ground where you would go camping or fishing, just to have that stereo out there. I know they make portable stereos, but I'm a fan of car stereos. I always was. So I'm going to try that this year. It's still going. It's down to 6 watts. I'm not using any power, but I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't want to make the video too long, because I like I said, I always make long videos anyway, hence the name Ramblin Bob. A lot of you guys are used to it by now, but I think I'll leave it there, because I don't know, that could trickle for another hour. I mean, who knows? But as soon as that's done, I'll tell you exactly what happens. This shuts off, the BMS shuts down, the MPPT controller shuts down, and the power input for the board shuts down. And then it goes and sits in idle. And then this system stays on because obviously the solar is still trying to charge it. So this little button right here, the little icon. So when this solar pops off, I'll show you here. I think, oh, actually, you know what? Oh my gosh, I know why it's been using, let me see. Oh no, I had it off, okay. The AC. So I didn't even think about it. The reason it wouldn't finish, boy, this went right over my head, is because obviously I had the AC inverter on, guys. See, now it went down as, okay, so that was so simple. That was a simple mistake by me, I apologize. So I had the AC inverter on, and that was that 6 watts of standby for the AC inverter probably. That's why it would never finish. Notice it finished. And then see how it kind of pops in a little bit, see? And then it'll spike up and then go down, because basically, there it goes. So basically it's trickle charging to make sure that that battery stays at the float that it was designed to stay at in the firmware. So now we understand. That was a long video for nothing, and I do apologize for that, guys. But we're all learning, and that's the point of these videos, is so we can all learn together as a team. But now, see, it's sitting at 0, but it'll never turn off, because obviously you have solar coming in this line. So until you unplug this power and then let it do its little shutdown sequence, this system will literally turn off. Okay, it'll turn off, and then see, there you go, and then it sits in the background until when you need it. I think that's all I can say about this one, guys. Just a quick recap is 100 watts true output. This puts out 26 on my model. I think that's fantastic. 121 volts on the AC outputs. That's fantastic. And then I was able to run 1,300 watts on a box that's only rated for 1,200. So that's much better percentage-wise and reliability-wise than the E600LFP. Pecron, you're going in the right direction, and I like that. I like that. Well, you could send me as many of these as you want. I'll test as many as you like. And then the people, they like them, they can buy them. If they don't have to buy them. I mean, there's no loss in the game for me. I want to get my hands on as many of these as possible so I can test every single one, just because for me, guys, this is an exciting new hobby, and I hope it is for you too. All right, guys, Ramblin Bob, I'm out. I hope you enjoyed this review. This is a powerhouse. I love the E2000. But I like this one. I really do. I just wish that this obviously had the, the battery capacity or the AC output as the big one, and then I could downsize. But obviously I can't. I have to keep the bigger one. But for portability, guys, if you want to throw this in your car, absolute monster. All right, guys, ramble on, be safe, and I'll see you again. And if you're not a subscriber, go up there and smash that button. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. Like the video. That doesn't cost anything. Oh, just the energy of your Donkey Kong smash. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.